For your site, we used the date she was born. That seemed to make sense to us. I always try to find a pretty rock. I think this one's my favorite.
The hardest thing as being on a chevra, the hardest thing is having parents, lo aleinu, bury children.
One of the things I heard that I hated most was a rabbi who said to us that we had a modern day problem.
Somebody came up with the expression, time heals all wounds. I don't know who said it, but it's not true.
There will be moments that you think like everything's just fine, and then other moments that your world is ending.
Our son was born on Pesach, 1987. Came a little early. And it was a great day for a little while.
It was a Sunday night in mid-March of 2016, and my husband and I went to bed very excited because we were eagerly anticipating the birth of a new grandchild.
My wife took the phone call, and I really can't talk about it.
And it was my son, and I remember exactly what he said.
The baby had passed away.
And I started to scream after I hung up the phone. I couldn't even begin to control my emotions. Knowing the pain that my son and daughter-in-law were in was overwhelming.
The first time I encountered an infant loss as a rabbi, I had no idea what to do, and I didn't really know who to turn to or who knew what to do in these circumstances. And my wife suggested to me, you should call a woman named Riva Judas.
I did put my finger in there. He held onto my finger briefly.
I do remember the doctors coming in and telling me that my son will be okay. Again, they told me that, but he'd have to be transferred to Hershey Medical Center because he's very, very sick.
I took the call in the hospital room that he passed away. And when Riva heard that, she let out a scream that I didn't know I could hear.
So the baby was delivered, and there were two sounds coming out of that room. One was the wailing of our son, a sound that I had never heard before and that I will never forget. But there was also the eerie silence. A baby had been born, and there was no crying.
Sunday morning, went to Hebrew school. Was kind of feeling a little bit off, but thought nothing of it. Little did I know that within half an hour, I would find myself giving birth in the bathroom of a restaurant.
We ended up on the floor, and I was holding her, and I ended up calling 911, and they were giving me instructions on mouth-to-mouth for a newborn.
You really come to understand that a loss is a loss, and whether it's a 6-week loss or a full-time loss or even a post-delivery, people need help and support and understanding.
We came home and we didn't know what to do. Our rabbi was there the next morning, very supporting. All of a sudden we had questions about what to do for a burial, and I felt like I was delaying making those decisions and having those conversations because it was too difficult to admit that I was burying my stillborn child.
In the past, the way a fetus was handled was that the Chevra Kadisha would basically handle the matter from A to Z, so to speak, and the parents were not even involved. In fact, it was discouraged.
People who have stillbirths. So one of the things that Reva's idea was to have the couple buy a charm and add it to a necklace or a bracelet, so that way that person is that child is always part of their family, and so that the couple understands that there isn't a moving on, but that child and neshama is incorporated into their memory and into their family.
We heard this name Riva, and little did I know from the second that I called, there was an entire network behind the scenes, really working to support us. NechamaComfort has really helped us go through some difficult times.
And so we were able to do an autopsy and do a burial a few days later, name the baby, open our homes, and do some sort of Shiva type thing, which was the most incredible thing that we could have done. Because at the end of the day, I don't want her to be forgotten just because, she never took a breath here. Doesn't mean that she didn't change my life. And I want to say NechamaComfort was there for me, but the truth is they still are.
That baby was beautiful, and he looked like Ariel. And Ariel and Sherry sang to him, and they talked to him, and they made him a promise that they were going to give meaning to his life. And I think that one of the ways that they did it was to become involved with NechamaComfort, because that meant that they could help other people.
People call us from Israel, many phone calls from Israel. As far as Hong Kong, we get calls from families, communities, to help them help these couples and these families. We would never charge anybody for any of our services. Nobody's turned away. We help them from the beginning. We're very fortunate because we have connections with a lot of funeral homes, a lot of doctors. We try to expand our resources globally so we know where to turn in the time of crisis. And I realized that I couldn't do it alone.
I particularly appreciate the way that Riva always says, rabbis need to grieve also, and she's supportive not only of families in grief, but of the rabbi, and offering comfort to me and helping me comfort families.
I mean, obviously, anybody especially an organization that's dedicated to the ideal that if somebody's suffering, we are suffering with them, is a positive and is certainly a worthwhile organization or endeavor.
We need to have more training so that more people can be serviced. There's not a day that goes by that the phone doesn't ring. I wake up every morning to another email or text. We're with these couples forever. And we want to be able to continue our work. And with your help, we can help everybody.